Now, former US President Donald Trump has told his opponents they can rot in hell in an angry Christmas rant, as you do. He's currently juggling 4 criminal trials with a total of 91 felony counts, and it comes as the Michigan Supreme Court rejects attempts to remove Trump from the ballot in the state there. Well, joining us now is political commentator and co-host of Dennis and Julie with Dennis Prager. That's Julie Hartman. Thank you for joining us on the show, Julie. Let's start with that Christmas message, if we can. It's unorthodox, but by Jove, Trump is absolutely blasting from the hip.
Well, you know, we forget here in the United States that Donald Trump is just a human being like all of the rest of us. And trust me when I say that conservatives always think, oh gosh, wouldn't he just be quiet? He's playing right into what the left wants him to say. They want to make him out to be this authoritarian, unhinged individual. But the man has been through hell, and he has been treated so poorly by the elites in our country. And so you can't help but not blame him for lashing out like that. But I think what's happening with Donald Trump is indicative of a greater problem, and that is that the most discriminated against group right now in the United States are conservative Americans. We see them going after Donald Trump, the head of the Republican Party, but it extends beyond that. In the 2020 election, we know that Twitter colluded with the FBI to suppress conservative content. We know that the Biden administration has colluded with Meta, Facebook, in order to suppress anti-vaccine content. We know that also in the FBI, there were these internal memos calling religious Americans, Catholic Americans, quote, violent extremists. We see that nonviolent January 6 offenders are being treated far more harshly than even violent Black Lives Matter riot offenders. The list goes on. And so I think when we see this anger from Trump, he's not only expressing anger about his own situation, but about the entirety of persecution, not just against the Trump camp, but against conservatives and Republicans in general.
Yeah, in fact, Julie, he talks of a witch hunt against Trump and MAGA. And then he goes into a tirade criticising inflation, Afghanistan surrender, the Green New Scam, as he calls it, no energy independence, electric car lunacy. He also talks about open borders. And Julie, I wanted to ask you, we see often pictures from Los Angeles. My sister lives in Texas. We see the changing, very, very quick demographic change of millions of people coming over your southern border. We're about to approach an immigration election in the UK. How big a topic do you think immigration will be in the 2024 presidential election?
Oh, I think it is one of the top 3 most important issues that we are facing right now. Let me tell you this statistic. Over the past 3 years, actually less, since President Biden took office, he's about to enter his 3rd year of his presidency, over 7 million undocumented immigrants have come across our southern border alone. Now, people may be listening thinking, oh, where did she get that statistic? She's making that up. This comes from the Department of Homeland Security. This is our own government data. Can you believe that? 7 million undocumented immigrants. And we know that, of course, many are coming for a better life. And I have enormous sympathy for them. They are fleeing these crime-ridden countries, specifically and especially in Latin America. But we also know that we are getting a lot of citizens from Iran, from China, from Syria, from countries where there are populations that are very hostile to the United States. I was reading actually just this morning that over 125,000 Chinese nationals have crossed into the southern border in the past year. Now, don't you see that this is a great opportunity for our adversaries to perhaps send in spies or bad actors to take advantage of this situation? I think more Americans are waking up to it because they're looking out on their streets and they are seeing the flood of immigrants, especially in cities like New York City. So I hope that people will certainly take that to the ballot in 2024, but we'll just have to see.
Well, Judy, that's the next big question. We saw with Maggie Thatcher in Britain, they say when they play the man, it shows they've ran out of ammunition. So they're going for Trump personally. They're trying to stop him in the courts. Failed in Michigan. Likely the Colorado case will be overturned by the Supreme Court. Can anybody stop the Trump train being the candidate on the ticket? And more to the point, do you think that for the Liberals, the ultimate nightmare could happen and Trump could be the next president in 2024? Trump 2, the Terminator returns.
Well, look, it's a controversial thing to say, but I think that Trump will be our next president if there is a fair election. And in 2020, there is reason to believe that many components of that election were rigged. Especially, we saw the way that big tech rigged the election. I just mentioned to you a few moments ago that Twitter colluded with the FBI to suppress conservative content. We know that Twitter had weekly meetings with the FBI and that even the FBI paid Twitter over $3 million. Why would a government agency pay a big tech giant $3 million in anticipation of an election? Also, we know that one of the biggest stories that Twitter suppressed was the Hunter Biden laptop story. So I would not be shocked if they did similar things again in 2024. So if it is a fair election, I think that Trump will win. Although if he does win, boy, let me tell you, I really worry about what is going to happen. We saw how horrible things got in 2020 with the Black Lives Matter riots. I can only imagine how the left will react if boogeyman Trump, as you say, is back for a second term. It's not going to be pretty.
Super stuff. Julie Hartman, co-host of Dennis and Julie. Thank you so much. Fantastic guest. Please come back and join us again. And I think it's going to be the biggest show on earth. That's next November the 5th. You couldn't make it up. Fireworks in America. Trump 2, the return. Certainly one to watch. And of course, we're covering that throughout the entire year for you here on GB News.